when we start talking recruiting with head coaches, at major programs, there's infinite resources, and maybe like in the South especially, you're focused on, we can put out our list or anyone's list, and you're focused on guys that probably are ready to contribute physically as freshmen. From your perspective, when you're talking more about maybe a guy that is developmental, or you're looking and trying to project not what he's going to be like at 18, but maybe 20 years old, how is that different? And how, when you guys target players and recruit players, like how does that language and approach maybe change?
Yeah, I think for us from day one, we've always said, number one in the recruiting process, we got to find our kind of guys. And I think we know Iowa State, number one, is unique in a different place. I think number two, our process and how we are going to get our young men from 18 to 22 years old and be their best, become that 4- and 5-star player at the end of their career. We've always kind of revolved around the philosophy of our kind of guy. And then, through the recruiting journey, it can't just be, man, what's the highlight tape say? What's the highlight video look like? What's he at his best? We've looked for, number one, character, and I think that football character piece for us has always been really big. And, man, what's it look like on a game video? What's it look like when you're not at your best? And how do you respond to adversity? I think those things have been big for us in the recruiting journey. I think number two, love football. I think our place has always been a place of we're going to be better and when we have juniors and seniors than we are when we're a team of freshmen and sophomores. And you got to love football to stay the course. And I've always said it's really hard in college football to become a senior, especially today in college football. And, finding those guys that love the sport so much that they're willing to grow and develop in things like nutrition and strength and conditioning and, and then the fundamental and craft that it takes to reach your full potential. And then I think the last thing for us has always been understanding the value of academics. We're not pro sports still today. We are a sport where the college piece, the academic piece has still got to be something really important. And those guys have been the guys that have seemed to be able to thrive in our football program. And we've really tried to do our due diligence around those values.
You guys have a team probably coming back this year that a lot of people here are really excited about. I think as we get closer to the season, maybe the whole preview magazine culture will start to catch on to that. Anytime that's happening in this day and age, you're worried about other staffs knowing that and other staffs possibly looking and saying, oh, what's over there? Yeah. And yet, and this is me talking, not you talking, I've looked and I have seen minimal transfer portal talk around Iowa State. And I see a lot of good players here. We've been in the building all day, a lot of good players. What is that balance like? And just when you know that's coming, how do you handle it?
Well, I think the neat thing for us is, it's been great to be somewhere that you have gone through the waves of success and, man, that dip back down and then success again. And so, number one, how do you handle expectations, I think, is really big. And I think that's one thing for us we've had to learn probably the hard way here at Iowa State, but it's been a great learning process. I think number two is the cultural piece has really never changed. And I've always said I want to build a football program where young people and their families feel confident that they can send their young men to our program and they can feel confident and safe in their journey of growth from 18 to 22 years old. And we've never shied away from that. Honestly, even as, our landscape in college football has changed, we've doubled down on culture and we've doubled down on, man, a young man wanting to come here and feel confident to grow from, the beginning part of their journey to the end of their journey within our football program. And a lot of things we can't control outside of us, but I think what we can control inside of us, how we build our program, how we build in and care into our young people in our program, that's been priority number one, and that hasn't changed for us.
Back a couple of years ago, we brought the show up here for the Iowa game early in the year, like 114 degrees that day. And that season had a lot of high expectations. Yeah. And I think it'd be safe to say probably in a lot of ways you felt like you didn't reach the full potential that year. So that would maybe be like an unexpected dip. When you get to the end of the road of a season, and you didn't meet expectation, your internal expectation you didn't meet either, how much is there, hey, we've got to adhere to the process versus how much is there, let's raise the hood, let's look at everything, and yes, we've got core values we're not going to change, but that, and that we got to do something about?
Well, I think whether no matter what, we've tried to, at the end of every season, raise the hood and have those same questions. And whether you felt like it was a team that reached its full potential or didn't, you have to evaluate the season and be able to self-reflect. It's just like we ask our kids to have no ego in the journey and to be able to self-reflect and figure out where are those gaps that you need to fill in. We have to do it. And that starts with me as the head football coach, and then it goes to our assistant coaches, and then at some point it's got to go back to our players. But if we don't do that, then I don't think our kids can look at us with true trust in who we are and have the ability to say, yeah, you know what, coach is asking me to reevaluate and to be able to fill in my gaps, and he doesn't have the ability to do that. And so I think we've always tried to do that every year, and 21's a great example. It was a year where we didn't reach our full potential, and there's a lot of that when you self-reflect. I'm going to be the first one to sit here and say, hey, listen, I didn't do a great job as a head football coach. There's some areas for me that I learned a lot about what I should have done or could have done better, and I've been able to take those lessons and continue to build into the next years into our football program. So again, I think that's one of the great things about being at a place now going into our 9th season is, geez, we've kind of gone it. We've had almost everything thrown our way, and we've been able to experience everything, especially here at Iowa State for the first time. Some of the great successes, man, some dips. And yet, how do you handle that, and how do you move yourself forward? But that ability to self-evaluate, man, that hasn't changed for us. We've really stuck to that. We've made changes almost every year in our program, but the core philosophy, love, care, serve our players, man, create a place where young people feel confident, safe, proud to come into our football program and represent a football program the right way. Those things have really stood true for us, and we're really proud of that.
I think one of the things people would be most fascinated to hear you talk about as much as you can is when you start having some success, especially in your business, your name's always going to be out there. Anytime jobs come open, your name's going to be out there. And the traditional view is, well, if someone's here, it's just an automatic, they'll go there, then there, then there. And sometimes the public's perception of what elevation is matches yours. Other times you have a totally different mentality than what the general public thinks. So the conversation around you has always been, hey, I wonder what Matt Campbell's going to do if. I wonder when Matt Campbell's going to do this. And yet you've been here. And short of like internet rumors, there's never been really serious traction to you not being here. So could you walk people through as much as you can the thought process you have when you have opportunity?
Yeah, I think for me, and again, it's been a fascinating journey for me as a head football coach, because I became a head football coach at 32 years old, and probably wasn't ready. I don't know if any of us are, and you're always growing. And I feel, this is an area even for myself that I feel like I've grown, tremendously over the course of time. And, I've been that guy where it's like, geez, should I be climbing this ladder of job to job at a really young age to, when we got to Iowa State and have been able to build something different. And I know, for me, leaving the University of Toledo was really hard, to be quite honest. From Ohio, my wife and I had never left Ohio at that time, 3 kids with a 4th on the way. We had grandparents and family that were, anchors to us, and it was really hard to leave. And, that was the first time I said, geez, I don't know if this is what I want to do. I want to be able to lay roots and build something different and something that's really special that can stand for something. And I think when Jamie Pollard had come to talk about the Iowa State job, that's kind of what he was looking for, something different, and to build something different and, build it your way, how you envision building a football program. And, I think that's the one gratitude that I have for being the head coach. I walk in here every day and I'm just beyond grateful to be the head football coach at Iowa State. And, we've been able to build a program that I really believe stands for something. And on top of that, as we've had our successes and some of that outside noise has come in, even personally for me, I've always gone back to the checklist of, number one, I wanted to be a great father. I want to be a great husband. I never wanted to, let the profession ruin what's most important to me, and that's my family. And number 2, you want to work for great people and with great people. And, I think I'm really fortunate that, we've got great trust within our athletic department here, within our administration here, within our coaching staff here. That's been really important, and it's a joy to come in every day and work with people that are aligned to the same vision. And then I think the third part of it, which is probably the most important part, is what do you stand for in this profession? I think for me, it's been, I wanted to build something that allows young people to feel confident and to feel trusted when they come into our football program, that they can go through this profound transition that they're going through in life. 18 years old, leaving home for the first time, getting into this uber competitive environment. And all of a sudden, you want that support, you want that trust that your coach is going to be there, that these people are going to be there, and they're building something that's going to support this journey that should change your life forever if it's done correctly. And, I think that's something that we've been really proud of, because we've been able to build that kind of football program here. So really, as my own journeys happen, I think defining who are you, what do you want to stand for, and what are the type of people that you want to surround yourself with, and we've been really fortunate to be able to do that here at Iowa State.
A lot of people just noticed Brock Purdy play for a Super Bowl, and he was once upon a time the quarterback here. You guys had a kid by the name of Rocco Beck last year who started to attract more and more attention as the season went on. So now you get a full spring with him, you get another summer conditioning circuit with him. What kind of player can he be for you?
Yeah, I think the great thing I love about Rocco, and probably very similar to Brock, to play quarterback at this level, one of the unique traits I really believe you have to have is you got to know who you are as a human being. And for a young 18, 19, 20-year-old to know that, that's really hard. But, Brock had that great trait, and I think as you've watched his success at Iowa State and certainly what he's done in the National Football League, he's never wavered from who he is. And I think that's the unique thing about Rocco is, he's really stepped in from day one on campus. He knew who he was, knows who he is, knows what he stands for. And I think what that's done is it's allowed people to be attracted to him when he steps into that critical leadership position. And, I think Rocco's got such great traits. You see, he's got great arm strength. He's such an accurate thrower of the football. But most importantly, he's got great command of the football team. Our guys, our players believe in Rocco Beck. And it's fun to build a football team around guys like that, man, there's great belief in the human being first, and then all those other traits really come to fruition. And Rocco's got great traits to continue to come to fruition, but we're really proud of who he is.
You've got a kind of unique vantage point on the sport because you are a head coach at a major program. So if someone were to hop on the elevator with you and you got like a minute and a half with them and they said, "Hey, Coach, how you feel about college football overall right now?" What would you tell them?
Yeah, I think our sport is in transition, and I would say it's a very transient time. And, to me, this is a very transformational experience. And so I would tell people that be wary of transient. And I think when things are in transition, that's really tough. And that's why I feel like for all college football programs, you hope that the foundation of understanding that we're dealing with a very transformational time with 18 to 22-year-olds in such a critical time in their life, that's got to continue to be our priority as so much transition happens around our sport.
Do you ever look at the player experience with all the other noise? I mean, people are talking about playoff expansion, media rights deals, NIL portal, and yet at any given point, you've got 4 classes of kids on your roster. They're only going to come through college once. Right. And whatever happens in the future, this is their college experience.
Yes.
Do you how much time do you spend thinking about that?
Well, I spend a lot of time on that because to me, the number one responsibility that we have in our job, and I do get it, winning football games is important, but still the number one priority is we do have somebody's son. And these are 18 to 22-year-olds that are growing from young man to man in a really critical time in their life. And, I know we put so much into the stock of winning at all costs. But the reality, the cost is 18 to 22-year-olds. And our responsibility is still to grow these young men into men. And so I think finding that balance in our job, but yet also understanding that it is critical. And yes, as transition is happening around us, these young men are living a life right now that is such a transformational time in their life, and our job should be helping them achieve their goals and dreams on and off the field. And so I think for us, it's such a unique balance right now, but I think we can't forget the most important piece of what we're leading, and what we're leading is the young men in our locker room.
If you guys are in spring practice right now,
yeah.
You've got, as we're recording, you've got practice later today,
yeah.
actually. And I'm always curious, when you structure a spring, I know that you want to focus on development, and there are certain buckets you're going to fill every practice, and there are certain buckets you're going to fill every spring. But what are the things, maybe 2 or 3, that you have circled in red Sharpie that there's an ultra serious focus on right now?
Well, I think last year we've kind of realigned ourselves to what our program needs to look like as a football team. You know, things like the competitiveness, things like, you know, taking care of the football and, you know, the way we play the game. I think we realigned ourselves to those value systems. And now it's building the depth and having absolute clarity for our football team by the time we get out of spring practice of, you know, number one, where are you in your individual journey as a football player? You know, where are your gaps? How do we continue to fill those in so we can be our best team by the time we get to August? I think number 2 as coaches, you know, where is our foundational offense, defense, and special team schemes? Where are we at with those? Where are our gaps? And then number 3, let's have a collective view of what our football team really looks like. You know, I've said a lot here, players, formations, plays. We'll be our best as a football team in all 3 phases when we know who our players are. We make sure we put good formations around them to identify their strengths and then call the plays to make sure we're accentuating the strength of our football team. Let's get to the end of spring practice and let's make sure we know what this football team looks like. So by the time we get to the summer and fall camp, we're making sure our schemes are tailor-made to our players. And so we've been our best year as a football program. We've been able to do that. And I think it's exciting for us because we know we've got some really good football players coming back here. We know we've got a really good foundation. Now we can build in that foundation and make sure we're aligned going forward by the time we get to fall camp.
We've been treated phenomenally here from the entire crew. We appreciate it. Matt Campbell.
Thank you very much.
Happy to have you on.
Yeah, honored. Thank you.